So welcome back guys to We Talk Boxing. Today I'm going to be doing something a little bit different. I'm going to be talking about a UFC fight which is taking place this weekend between Kamaru Usman versus Leon Edwards, and this is the third fight between both guys. And it's going to be taking place in London. It's a big card, and there's plenty of fights which are taking place as well. But this is one of the fights, the UFC fights I should say, which is kind of, captured, my awareness and has made me a little bit more intrigued. There's a lot of publicity regarding this fight as well. And I will definitely be tuning in to watch this. So both guys, have got a win each against each other. Um, the first fight, saw Usman obviously come out of victor. He beat Leon Edwards. I watched that fight. It was a good fight. Personally, I felt that Edwards had, was the far supreme fighter. Sorry, stand-up fighter in the first fight. He was much better than Usman, in standing. And Usman, came back into the fight, by pretty much wrapping his guy up, tying him up, and taking him down and just knackering him out before obviously beating him. Um, but it was an okay fight, the first time round. Obviously, these guys did a rematch, and this in the second fight, obviously it was slightly different. Edwards obviously got the win in the end by a knockout. It was a fifth round, late, very, very, very late knockout with a brilliantly executed head kick. But the fight, didn't really go to plan for Edwards, I should say. But I did see improvements between the first fight and the second fight with Edwards. Now, first round, for me, obviously Edwards came out, he looked sharp, looked fit. Again, he looked good. Like when he was standing and he was trading against Usman. And then he switched it up. He towards the end of the first round, he then obviously took Usman down, and he pretty much got on top of him. Obviously, you guys who watch UFC will be able to know the exact moves in that, but just from my point of view, I'm just going to say how it is. He took him down, got on top, and obviously he was trying to tie him up and trying to maybe look for some sort of submission. And then obviously as that round was pretty much edging towards the end, he then again attempted probably a rear naked choke or whatever. I don't really know. He got pretty much Usman's back, and obviously tried to, get some sort of choke from behind, but it didn't happen. Obviously, both guys went back to their corner, and then pretty much from round two, to five, it was all Usman. You know what I mean? And it was that, how could I say it? That stamina, that never give up, sort of attitude, that aggression, which saw Usman win. The rest of the rounds, he won every round. Do you know what I mean? Up until the fight ended, in the fifth round, in my eyes. And at that point, even in the fifth round, honestly, if the fight would have ended and he would have went to the scorecards, it would have been 4-1 in my eyes, to Usman, because he was winning that fifth round. And there was one point in that fifth round where the commentator, don't ask me who it was, commentator pretty much said, Usman could pretty much just stand off Edwards and just allow Edwards to try and come towards him, and that may lead to some openings for Usman, and maybe he could probably get the stoppage, but he didn't. He pressed forward. He was pulling it on Edwards, and the last 90 seconds of that fifth round, when I think the referee pretty much got both guys up because they were against the fence. They got both guys up into the center of the ring, and at this point, Edwards needed to try and do something spectacular to get the win, because he was losing badly. There's only like less than 90 seconds left, and he needed to land something or knock his man out, and it's pretty much what he did, because he was in southpaw position. He was throwing the jab every now and again, and he was always feinting. He was feinting with with the left kick. So he was throwing the right jab, kind of like tweaking his left leg as if he's going to throw the kick, and then throwing the jab and trying to change levels as if he's going to rush in on Usman, or maybe, you know what I mean, try and throw an overhand left or something. And he kept doing that for about 30, 40 seconds. And then at one point, you know what I mean, obviously Usman, his concentration must have lapsed, and that's exactly when Edwards threw the left kick to the face. Because as I said, Edwards pretty much faked the jab, you know what I mean, and normally he would feint the kick, but this time he threw the kick and it landed on the button, and he was gone at this point. Usman, he was gone. There was no way on earth he was getting back up. But you know what I mean, for someone with good standing up skills such as Edwards, you know what I mean, and for someone who had been, you know what I mean, how could I say it, you know what I mean, he took a lot of wrestling, and he was knackered, you know what I mean, for all them rounds. He's, you know what I mean, in that fifth round to demonstrate the kicks and with speed and the punches that he was throwing at that point, was like, in my eyes, was brilliant. And I honestly could see that him and his team had been working on, you know what I mean, their stamina, their fitness, their concentration. Do you know what I mean? And he needed that in that last round, because there was no way on earth he was going to win on the judges' scorecards. And you know what I mean, he got what he wanted. You know what I mean, he's now the champion, and he now goes into this fight on Saturday as a champion and the man to beat. Now, you know what I mean, having watched both fights, um, I do probably say that I probably do make Usman the favourite, only because, you know what I mean, both fights his style hadn't really changed, to be honest. And you know what I mean, he was aggressive, you know what I mean, he had good stamina, and he's always a come forward fighter. The only thing that I think that he probably lacks, is maybe that knockout, that instant knockout power, which is something that I didn't really see much of between both fights. Obviously, you guys in the comments could let me know, you know what I mean, if he's got that knockout power in him. I don't really know too much about him, but that's the only thing really, because obviously Edwards now knows that he could be in with him up until that fifth round and potentially pull out some sort of, you know what I mean, highlight reel knockout or something, because he's done it before. You know what I mean? One thing I think Edwards probably needs to watch out for as well is in both fights, you know what I mean, Usman, you know what I mean, he would, you know what I mean, try and wrestle his, like, he would literally get his man up against the fence or whichever, and try and maybe look for the takedown or wrestling against him or whichever, and then at times, you know what I mean, he would then switch it up and stand and start trading with Edwards and catch Edwards quite a lot. Now I feel when, you know what I mean, Usman does that, Edwards, you know what I mean, at some point needs to dig deep, take a deep breath, and just get on the move. If he stands there and he takes, you know what I mean, some shots from Usman, he could potentially get stopped. He could potentially get caught with something that he doesn't see and get knocked out. So that's the only thing I probably think that Edwards needs to watch. Other than that, I'd probably say that, you know what I mean, yeah, look for the knockout. I think that's the only way that I could probably think that Edwards is going to beat this guy, because in both fights he was losing on the scorecards. Although he did make some adjustments in the second fight, so it's going to be intriguing. I am going to watch it. You know, what I mean, it's going to be the first UFC live fight that I watched in in a while. I don't really do UFC as much, to be honest, but this fight, you know what I mean, it's intrigued me, and obviously it's caught my attention. Thought I'd do a little bit of a video, you know what I mean. I actually did my homework watching both fights as well. Good fights, but yeah, it's one of them. But anyway, you guys can let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And as always, guys, please subscribe and like and comment for more boxing related content, and I should say UFC content from now on, because if there's any other good fights out there, it might catch my imagination. I might do other videos on it as well. And you guys can let me know in the comments as well. Do you guys watch UFC, or is it just all boxing? Bless.